The Red Dirt DnD podcast is brought to you by Pro Laser Cuts. The Oklahoma company provides pre-made and customizable design laser cut dice towers, tokens, and more, developed by a gamer for gamers, and now available to enhance your tabletop game. Pro Laser Cuts products can be found at many Oklahoma City area game stores, local events, and now available online at prolasercuts.com. That's laser and cuts with a Z, Pro Laser Cuts. And by SD Way Gaming, where dice goblins unite. Our friends at SD Way Gaming celebrate the beautiful dice players handpick for their games and splendor. SD Way Gaming has expanded to include many tabletop gaming varieties, accessories, and similar fun necessities to include a service for your dice addiction. You can shop for a variety of products at sdwaygaming.com or find SD Way Gaming on Facebook. Welcome to Red Dirt DnD. I'm Michael Cross.
Konnor, Shenold.
Johnny Payne.
Kiri Esther.
Brooke Bullock.
And Ash King.
You know how hard it is to say I'm Michael Cross and not want to say I play Gaz, an orc barbarian, sworn protector of the...
See, I would think it would be harder to say, and I'm Michael Cross from Oklahoma City.
Yes.
Today's news.
With a look at your KOSU forecast.
I want to hijack this real fast. I listened to the way that we're recording this. The episodes aren't out yet, so I listened to 117 and 118. I didn't want to because oh my god, I didn't want to cry. And I listened to them, and I got to say, I'm totally hijacking this, Michael. I jumped to the Discord. And I just gave a bravo, but sincerely, bravo. And I'm not trying to say like this is my show and y'all did good kind of thing. But as an actor in theater, Michael can attest to this. Is when you know you can feed off of your fellow actors and or players even, and everyone is making everyone shine and everything's falling together, and it's just you want to say thank you and thank you to all of you, even Ash. Ash, I think that you've had some moments that have really been like, oh wow, or oh neat, or just the like I think I figured this out, and a few episodes later it's like, oh wow, that was going that way or whatever. But I think in 117, you were like 110% in it for it. It was alive with you more than I think ever it has been. Not to say that it never has been. It's not, none of this is a commentary on any previous episode.
Right.
But oh my God, just the intro, the way you brought it in and everything, and there was a brief moment where I was like, I wonder if people are going to question the Papi Zani thing isn't happening. And I'm like, no, because it's been built up so much organically that we trust each other, and hey, I can't worry about you and get myself killed in that worry, and you can't worry about me and get yourself killed in that worry. And
we literally had that conversation on the boat.
Yes.
That's so many episodes
and
ago.
It wasn't like a care for each other and you can't do this without me kind of thing. It was I need you to focus so you can give it your best because your best is what's needed, just like my best is what's needed, just like hers, theirs best is what's needed, and character-wise. And so that really worked out a lot. I mean, just every freaking thing, especially with Brooke, I threw out there that when it was the whole Zonimus was really like, you got this bottle, you're just willy-nilly throwing it into a pile of your collected scrap like a dragon does. Was mad at Thundercrack for this, and that's when Zonimus was like, no, you're not getting this bottle. We're keeping it, and if I'm the one that keeps it, I'm the one that keeps it. Yeah. And then it was the four of us, and we were the new Guardians, and we all had our things, and then there was Gaz. And Brooke just goes, so Gaz takes the bottle, right?
Yeah.
Well,
and it was just like, dear God, where's this man right now? I want to drive to his house and hug him. Because that was great for the story, that was great for pulling Gaz in.
And the way that Brooke explained that made so much sense narratively about the people of the land keeping watch on this bottle. And I realized in hindsight that it wasn't very clear, and I like the ambiguity about it because Thundercrack says, and you will be the guardian of the bottle. So there is this vibe that Gaz could be
Guardian number 5.
The long-lived life or not. We don't know.
Well, in my headcanon, the bottle gives Gaz the long-lived life.
Yeah.
But then, again, the way in Michael Cross, I was sitting and listening to them with earbuds on the couch, and I kept jumping or sighing or falling back, and I'd catch Amanda looking at me like, what the heck's going on? I'm like, this sound effect, this voice, this thing that did that, this I just realized there's this thing in the background happening with the sound and all the work you did was great. And I loved Konnor's laser focus and never veer from it. For all of us, it was like, hey, we stopped the Empire. We saved the frontier with this. And Konnor's like, so Thundercrack's okay, right? And I was like, of course, because that is exactly what they would do.
Yeah.
That is it's just everything was. I'm like, I found myself clapping when Konnor was touched by Thundercrack and the wings.
Yes.
I like to literally say that it's just every. Bravo! Pat yourself on the back. Round of applause. It was just.
I listened to it in the car, and when Konnor gets his wings, I literally hooray!
I think 117 was like the apex of we've met it. We believe,
and we were doing really strategic combat.
I feel
like our combat was really great.
Yeah.
Konnor, especially Konnor, getting his amulet first. Or,
Ruby.
The thing.
The ruby.
Yes.
The key.
The key, that's the word I was looking for. Konnor getting his key first, being totally immune to fire, and being like, hey, come fight me!
Poppy taking the risk of jumping through the fire.
Yeah. Yes.
And
to get to hers.
And I know Zonimus was in the ether when that happened, but I think if he'd have been there and saw her running towards it, it wouldn't have been, oh no, my Poppy. It would have been, I really hope you make this because this needs to happen.
Just like
Zonimus
riding on Thundercrack, I'm a little impressed. But you also, so behind the scenes, Brooke and I didn't have our keys. This thing of fire goes up. I'm trying to figure out how we can get. Because we were over here writing notes back and forth. How can we do it? I was like, worst case scenario, I can wild shape maybe and like fly over. And I was like, but it takes a whole action and then it takes a whole bonus action to drop it and then this, that, and the other thing. And then when the water bottle idea occurs to me, I was like, he's going to dimension door in, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I thought it's because you wrote YOLO on a piece of paper and slid it. You're just like, I just run through it.
But there are a couple of points where I specifically can't hit everybody with water, and so I'm like, sorry, Margaret.
That's all right.
You're just gonna be on fire.
Performance-wise, though, I mean, it was really great.
So
just to kind of briefly talk about like the performance and behind the scenes of like the last 3 or 4 episodes. So I kind of joked about this, in the last episode about how I had to finally take what I call DM stance. So typically when we're playing, we're all sitting around the table, and in that moment, I'd pulled out the battle map. I'd had, little minis to represent everybody, and so we knew exactly where everyone is and what everyone was doing at that time. I had to remind myself about like the continuous damage. I would literally set the damage dice next to the character, so that way when it came up to their turn, I could pick those damage dice up, roll them, and then put them back down to remind myself. But it was like, performance-wise, like I think that like really changed part of my delivery and part of my, because I'm usually sitting and relaxing in a chair. But it was like, no, during that final fight, I had to physically stand up and be Lord High God Master over the battlefield. And I think you can hear that in my delivery, in the way, like the urgency that I say like some of my monologues with in those last couple episodes.
So, there's something about the physicality. Go.
Yeah, there was just such high tension.
Yes.
Not even just in the story, but like us as players.
What can I do to help?
Like, what can I do to help?
Was there going to be another intense. Gideon moment?
It's getting like, who knows what's going to happen at any given round.
Johnny and I were about to throw hands.
Moment.
And what?
I think we were both standing up.
Was that where you kept saying, "Are you okay? I can't tell if you're okay or not."
Yeah.
And I was sitting over here just like having the time of my life.
You were having like the time of your life, but you were also like so super tense. Like I could feel how tense you were. And I'm like, we good?
No, I was
good?
great. No, I was seriously. I left on a high that day. It was like, woo, that was good.
It was so awesome. There was a moment where you had stood up because of the tension. And Zonimus says something like, "Okay, so you do your part of the chant, you do that part of that chant, and you do that, and so it's going to be Konnor and then Makrin, and so Konnor with a K does his thing, and then Brooke, the player, immediately jumps in to do his part, and people are like, wait, we have initiative still.
I was going.
But I had got my command, and I was going to go.
I stood up on there, and like you were saying, there's a lot of times as a DM, I don't know if you guys have done it, but you stand up and you just get,
take DM stance.
But no, I was in a great, I was like super high, like I was like, how was the session? I was like, oh my God. I was just like,
what I love about that final battle was the fact that it was not just a let's beat up on the bad guy, that there was an actual goal.
There was
100%.
So it wasn't, yes, we had to take down Cimarron, but there was other things that we had to do in order to do that. Yeah. And we had to figure that out. So there was something else, and I just credit you so much, Ash, as the DM, to create this final battle that was more than just let's all attack the bad guy. Mm-hmm. It's okay. Some of us are going to go after the bad guy, but then others have got these things they've got to do, and then making him to where you couldn't. Gaz tried to just go off on the bad guy, and he couldn't. There was only so much damage that guy could take.
Yeah, and then when you hacked and slashed at him, the explosive fire that came out, right? Yeah.
And listening to it, what I come up with in my head was that, so it was, we have to weaken him and then trap him in the bottle.
Yes.
Not we have to damage him to a certain number and then trap him in the bottle. And Ash, I hate the word lit, but I can't think of a better one to say. Ash, lit us do that in the ways that we could. It caused a slight distraction when Poppy flies to the fire. Zonimus talking to Wiley, pulled at him so much that he skipped or passed or whatever on his legendary action that turn.
Yeah, I had it. It was like you rolled, so I had you roll the check and you beat him because it was a contested roll.
Yeah.
I had you roll those checks, and it was like if you succeeded on those persuasion rolls, it was causing him, because again, Wiley was taking back control of the body, so it turned into not just a external conflict, it was an internal conflict as well. That's actually something that kind of bugs me in D&D adventures. So, and especially whenever you have a magical ritual that must be stopped, or they're going to do the ritual with or without you, but they don't give you here's the actual steps for the ritual and the things that the ritual needs, and here's the counter ritual that could be performed. I think that that's a huge detriment, and it's in a situation like this where, yes, they did a ritual to release him, you're going to have to do a similar ritual to put him back in the bottle. I didn't want it just to be a knockdown, drag out fight in the mud.
Which is great. That's
why the weakening works.
That's what added to it so much, was the fact that we have to get to these keys. We have to attune to them. I thought that made that final battle so much more interesting than just hack and slash against the bad guy.
Because there wasn't tension, strategy, climactic moments of just hack and slash. There was climactic moments of, can we then get over here and get all these items?
Right.
There were really two encounters running at once.
Yeah.
And as a person who ends up, especially in the last third, the last act, as being the Dr. Quinn medicine woman. It gave me something to do that wasn't just healing word. Right, let me get over to you and do a cure wounds. It gave me something to also okay, I need to walk. I need to spend my movement to get over there. I need to figure out how this works.
It basically came down to a question of what do you want to do first? Do you want to try to grab the things first, or do you want to try to beat up on the bad guy first?
The answer is both. We do both.
The answer was both at the same time, but it gave a much bigger variety in the action economy, because that is something that I have kind of noticed throughout my days of running Adventures League and running these hardcover books, is when you get to these final fights, basically, even with legendary actions and minions and things like that, if all your players have to do, if the only thing they have to worry about is just wailing on the big bad, I mean, we killed Demogorgon in 2 turns one time.
Right. Yeah.
So it's in order for it to be a more interesting fight and to drag it out, I was like, okay, I have to give you guys a thing. I have to make it a true choice between, are you going to fight him or are you going to grab the items and start working on that portion of the thing? So it's like there was a much wider variety in the things that you guys were having to do and the things that Cimarron was having to do that weren't just, okay, I attack.
Everything had an impact. I think Gaz beating on him. Oh, this person got the feather. 1 down, 3 to go. Oh no, this person got the stone. Well, they're halfway there. And then the whole Wiley and conflict.
And it gets his attention as well.
Yeah.
And I think that you're right, because it also, we were talking about a final conflict that takes 3 episodes, 6 or 7 rounds. If you're sitting around a table, it's all exciting, it's fun, it doesn't matter. But we're trying to do this for an audience, so to make a final conflict interesting for 3 episodes and 6 or 7 rounds. This was much more interesting than, because we're all having to do stuff and really show this ensemble group of each one of us knows I can totally trust that Poppy is doing her thing. I can trust that Brooke is doing and I can trust that Konnor is they are doing what they need to do. And there's no doubt in it. We didn't have to question each other. We didn't have to just,
we had to time out, have a meeting, regroup, and tactics and all that, which I've seen in a lot of games.
The only thing we had to do kind of was talk about holding our action.
How the spell works.
And so we all said, okay, we'll just hold our action. And that was, and of course I edited that out because it wasn't, but it was still, that was only like 30 seconds. Okay, this is what we're going to do.
Hold your action so we can get the order changed, the order we need, and then go.
I think something else is that Ash also tied in the battle outside the courtyard as well. So we're seeing all of that happen at the same time. So it makes a great cinematic feel because we are for an audience. It gives a cinematic, almost like Peter Jackson style, big camera going over
King
the
Kong,
battle of the 5 armies.
Actually, one of my inspirations that I was kind of thinking of in the back of my head was The Mummy Returns.
So
the second Mummy movie, when it's like the camera's switching between the fight between like Imhotep and Brendan Fraser, Rick O'Connell, and the Scorpion King, like when they're fighting in the temple and then you cut away to like Anaxamun and Evie fighting and like Jonathan. And then you cut to the big battle with all the Magi and Ardeth Bay and the Anubis warriors. Like, that was what was kind of playing through my head, was that, like, that interplay of, you have this micro conflict of you guys in the courtyard versus Cimarron, but it's like, unless there is, like, people fighting outside, it's like, and then now every round, at the end of the round, we're going to have a random arcane cannon attack from one of the airships.
And for me, it was for a more pop culture reference that people would really recognize. It was Return of the Jedi.
It was
it was the Ewok battle on Endor, whilst Luke is facing off against Darth Vader,
and then you have
the battle that's going on in the ship. So there's all these things going on. There's the macro battle, the war that's going on either on Endor or in space, or in the micro battle that's going on between Vader and Luke.
Zonimus and Wiley.
So
that's where we get the dragons. We get Smithson come back in.
Beautiful.
I hope that if we move forward in time in the same world, that we see Smithson Enterprises just take off, literally and figuratively. I hope that he's a very successful dwarf.
You don't have to move a river to fly an airship.
Right? So,
and then down here's like a train track with like a no symbol on it.
Eopix and Smithson having their buddy moment.
The Three's Company buddy comedy that I'm going to have to write, where like Eopix just shows up at Smithson's door and he's like, who are you?
And so that, I think all of those things go to make the ending of that battle very satisfying in a way. But on the other side of that, immediately following the battle, there's a moment of, for lack of a better phrase, like awkwardness, which I feel feels true to the characters, as in well, what do we
what
do we do now?
Yeah,
It's a great
here?
question.
We did
What do
the
we do
thing,
now?
and so then we start talking about, okay, we're gonna stay together. We're not gonna let go of the bottle. We're gonna do this, that, and the other thing, and so there is like a solid like 30 seconds where our characters kind of just like looking at each other.
It's that quiet moment of we've kind of.
Gaz has almost died 4 times in a row.
We've done the thing that we intended to do and kind of were tasked with doing, the defeat of Cimarron,
Right.
getting back the bottle, getting the keys back, and then trying to figure out, do I give the key back to Eopix?
Yeah.
Does he want it back?
That
And
was a
Eopix
good
is like,
one. That was a
no.
great
Well, but the seed was planted when we were with Strom at going toward the cave, and it was Zonimus who said, "You guys split up," and he actually planted the seed of, "When this is over, I'm not losing any of you." And there was, in that moment,
That was a great
I will always remember that moment because it felt like a seed was being planted, that we were not, if we were going to be the Guardians, we weren't going to be, okay, you go your way, I'll go mine, and maybe we'll talk every 100 years. It was, we were going to be a family, and it was that found family moment.
Yeah.
Well, and it's one of those things where you're choosing over whether to have all of your eggs in one basket so that the eggs can protect each other, for lack of a better phrase, or to have them be separate so they're harder to get together.
Right.
And we saw that the separate thing didn't work.
Not that we're all
divide and
hanging-
conquer.
Yeah,
It
and not that
was-
we're all hanging out the same like apartment or whatever, but that like a real family, quote unquote real
Well,
family.
and the other
you
thing,
get back
too,
together
that-
weekly or whatever.
Didn't necessarily kind of come. I don't know if it came out as strongly as I had thought about it. Or, again, it's art. People can interpret the art in which way makes the most sense to them. But I almost I think one of the ideas I wanted to play with that I didn't necessarily get to play with was the idea that the Guardians used to be closer, and then over the course.
I felt that for
You
sure.
know, over
Yeah.
the course of 5,000
Yes.
years, it was less of an intentional choice and just more of a, oh, nothing's been changing in the
Right.
last
Yeah.
I think that's why
decade.
Zonimus says that along the
So,
walk was
it's
that
like
we've got to guard against that drift, which
Yeah.
just naturally happens.
Well, and I
Yeah.
think another thing that is interesting that these guys would bring as Guardians as well is knowledge of the East, with Poppy and Makrin understanding the threat that the East poses on the frontier, and with the Empire being quiet for now, maybe they need to kind of turn focus. And
see if there's anything that they need
they can
to
do to stop these,
Yeah.
for lack of a better word, incursion on the frontier by
Right.
the Easterners.
Yeah, it was. If you really look at, especially Americana history, you had your conquistadors; they came in as conquerors. You had your Westerners who came, or Western Europeans who came in not necessarily as conquerors, just kind of bled into and pushed out
Usurpers.
the natives' peoples. So
They wanted to keep growing and keep growing and keep growing their influence and keep imposing their ideals and their ways onto peoples who had been here for
so
thousands of years.
The idea is that it's an invasion, but just a different type of invasion.
But I also
and so that's something that I think the keepers of the keys would be all about is how do we make sure
we understand the threat. They wouldn't have even really noticed it because it was just getting into the West. These guys never got out that far east to see the last stop or to see the trains or anything like that. So definitely for sure. I also think that we have like to imagine that if we get together at least once a month to go visit Thundercrack and have dinner with the Kobolds. Maybe every other month we go once to Thundercrack, once to Nightmare, do like a back and forth.
And once to the last stop.
Yeah. We have dragon friends.
I want to know, are Poppy and Zonimus the new Yazgaj and Mazagal? Are they,
dragon friends. What?
Give it about 10 years. Then we'll
about 10 years? Okay.
We have to be the old married couple to sound like the old married couple.
No, yeah.
Right now it's honeymoon phase. Right now it's honeymoon phase.
You guys, secretly one day find the planning book in Yazgash's like stash of stuff.
She would.
Just the wedding book.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I know we haven't.
She already talks to Alyssa about catering.
Yeah, I know we haven't done the full math for how long it actually was. Like,
oh, that's a great question.
In the game of like how long it was, but you guys have only known each other for like 5 or 6 months.
Yeah, max, less than a year for sure.
Yeah.
But sometimes in situations it telescopes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, Yazgash is already planning the wedding.
Yeah, we talked about this on plausible deniability.
Yeah, it's trauma bonding.
It's trauma bonding, but it is the realization that when you are an adventuring party, you are spending every moment with these people. It's 24 hours. You are camping with these people. You are trying to survive with these people. So you're traveling with them. So it's not like it is. It's even less than the people that you work with. It is
even spouses to a certain degree because you might be living together or roommates, but you might be living together. But then you usually both go off to different.
So I do also like to think that Zonimus, this feels in character, and correct me if I'm wrong, that he would like encourage Poppy to go on an adventure like her and Wildfire. Yeah. Like, let's have some independent time. I want you to be sure that you understand yourself as a human because you've only been yourself as a halfling, like your own individual adult person for a little bit of time. And I want you to establish who you are without me.
Yeah. It's always going to be, do you want me to go with you? And I'll be here when you get back. Yeah. That's simple.
I think
I got Wildfire. I'm fine.
I hadn't even thought about it, but that is one thing because there will be moments when all of these guardians are on their own, and what wonderful stories that we could tell about Makrin. Maybe there's some dragon artifact that you've got to go search for Poppy. Maybe there's some quest that she sent on by.
She who needs her to go blow up that dam.
Yeah, and Konnor, maybe there is an actual thing. Okay, we need you to actually pick you back up as a spy. Could you go sneak into some eastern town?
What if you are put in?
I got
you got to train. You get a rookie spy. You've got to train him.
What is Konnor
I'll teach
doing?
You how to be as good as I am.
What is Konnor doing with the wings? What do you see?
He's flying everywhere,
settling?
all the
is
time.
He just
loop-de-loops
moving
and
all
stuff?
Around? Does Konnor settle anywhere, kind of, sort of, or is he?
I honestly think he'll just travel.
That's cool.
Like with you guys, or like kind of on.
I
his
imagine
own.
that he definitely would have like carved out some time to hang out with all of the Green Dragonborn.
Once we
led an expedition to go get them. Yeah. Ooh,
and
I
that
see
could
that.
be what
Konnor
does. Is like after our vacation, he goes back to Thundercrack to actually like be the person who does the task force to go to the Mesa.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I imagine there's also
I've got it. I have it now. Konnor is going to be the first kobold that becomes a platinum kobold because he literally serves every single dragon at least once.
Well, and because Nightmare is planning on trying to find Dreamweaver, so Konnor would be about that.
And that's wouldn't that be another great adventure for all of the Guardians is to help Nightmare find.
Well, and that's what we said. We're like, call us if we can help.
I think that would be an amazing adventure, especially because that would be need to be a higher level adventurer to call forth the Guardians.
I also like to imagine that from time to time we understand. So, like, maybe I'm going on a quest for she who weeps, and I'm gonna go blow up that dam. And I said, hey, Makrin, I need a dwarf to go with me. Yeah. And so it's a Poppy and Makrin adventure instead of all five, or it's a Poppy and Konnor adventure. We're flying around and we see a tussle. We gotta help. Those kinds of things.
And back to the expansion, from the east, it's one of those things where I think the Guardians might be advisors or helpers or diplomats or something where maybe we can weave those things together,
especially
rather than just trying to, because you can't stop expansion.
Yeah, because you've got 3 of us that are from the Call Band and 2 of you that are from Venturis.
And
so we do
one
have
of whom, if she can
sides.
Successfully kill her father,
Wait, what?
could inherit a very
you realize
influential.
you will just simply outlive him.
That is
you
the plan.
don't necessarily have to kill him. You will outlive him.
But he would pass it on.
It's that whole meme about she goes like she goes to one person and is like, hey, I need to get revenge on my father. What do I do?
You
and
mean
Gaz
that one
is like,
person?
well, the best revenge is living well.
Living well.
And then Poppy turns to Zonimus and goes,
Hey,
Zonimus, I need to get revenge on my father. Zonimus is like,
do you want to go kill him?
yeah.
It's radio, so
Murder.
you can't see the look on Johnny's face.
Let's,
but like, you have a guy.
Yeah, it's like, no.
Now I'm
Let's
going to
don't
have to
kill
kill
him.
this entire village.
Let's
Yeah.
get in close to him, gain his
Poppy, I'm
trust,
tired.
make him think we like him, and then kill him.
But the point being is if we wanted to work with the East,
Yes.
we have some ins. We
Yeah.
have some things that could come up,
I think there is a beautiful group. This group has been created so well to where we can work as
Well, and I
diplomats
think-
with the East and
I
with
think
the dwarves. and-
airships are going to do a lot as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they don't need to terraform
That's
the
right.
desert.
They don't
Yeah,
have to
it's
rip
like
up
you have
the
to
desert
move.
for-
You have
yeah.
to move a river to.
Yeah.
Go to the
well,
damn
again,
river.
it's definitely one of those things.
So
I
Smithson
have.
Enterprises.
Yeah, we become the
Yeah.
we need to get
backing
him. We
behind
need to get him
Smithson.
a patent.
yeah.
It's that whole again, and it'll be one of those things, and because technically some of this is actually getting into like campaign 2
Right.
Yeah.
territory. Because please remember 1.5 is just the
a different region
It's
of
called
the same.
1.5.
And it's also a filler.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
a
Filler.
filler
It's a
episode.
filler arc.
To give Ash a chance so that they can take a break, but basically so that we can get ready for campaign 2. Campaign 1.5, and we'll talk more about that in a couple episodes, but it is really just a break from the actual storyline, although it's going to be and the way we've
still
worked
canon.
in campaign 1,
It's
it's
still
still going to be canon.
100%.
It's still going. I know this ensemble will still be world building like crazy, so it will have impacts for future campaigns of Red Dirt D&D. But
Sorry, I was just thinking about what I have planned and how Ash is
Oh,
going to try
no.
to what are you doing to my world?
Well, we have this great.
don't touch that.
I have this great, original map right here, and who knew that it was going to go so far west that I have to fold the map over and continue on the back side.
Speaking of which,
hey, remember when we were supposed
Why
to
would
map
we
the
be
Caliban
mapping
frontier?
That's
the
why I said- that's why I
frontier
said-
if they already had a map of it?
When I said they, I meant Ash. They had a map.
That's why I was all
didn't
like,
know.
Jackalope Spit, what about your uncle? Because we're going to come. Hey,
It's my favorite.
you don't have
because
to
that
pay us
is-
because we didn't do your job.
So that is
no
my
10,000 gold for you.
I talked
Oh,
about.
that's right. We were supposed to make some money off of it.
Right.
We have more money than that right now.
I mean,
Dragon's
also
The real
could-
treasure
I mean,
was.
friendship.
Friends made a
We
lot
could
of
draw a
Put it this
fake
way.
map. That's an option.
Yeah. Put it this way, and this is not Konnor, their character, saying this. Is Konnor, the player. We have 2 dragons that owe us a favor.
Pass that to Brooke.
Real map.
So what I loved about Jackalope Spit, because I was talking about that awkward moment, and that is the real mood breaker. It
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
breaks
Yeah.
that
That's kind of
awkward
what I
moment.
was. Yeah.
And I know that's what
Jackalope
Johnny was
Spit, what
trying
are we
to
gonna do
do,
about your
but it
uncle?
was so organic and wonderful, and it made all of us laugh because we had not heard Jackalope Spit before,
Yeah.
and it was so good.
We hadn't heard it before, but it made so much sense.
So
would
much
just
sense.
fit.
It was
Like, yep,
perfect.
that's going in the dictionary along
Mm.
with steam and whistles.
I read a lot of
And
Star
O'Rock
Wars
got a new
novels,
track.
and Star Wars novels, that's an exclamation, is Sispit.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, Jackalope Spit, what the?
That was so fantastic. And what are we going to do? And it kind of really tagged on that final ending of, this is okay. We're done. It was take a deep breath and realize that this show is over. And so
The season is over.
Season. Yeah.
and when we finally have that last little monologue from Ash, what were your feelings as you were giving us that last?
Oh boy. My feelings with that was well, first off, I did want to wrap it up in such a way that it's yes, we're kind of closing the door on this campaign, but I'm leaving it cracked just a little bit for, the possibility of future stories with these same characters and, again, hinting at, that there's still a greater world out there that hasn't quite been fully explored yet. And that was the thing. I knew we weren't going to fully explore the entirety of the Callbound Frontier in one campaign alone. Right. And I actually kind of like, it's very attractive to me, the idea of like just focusing on a smaller area and completely fleshing it out within a campaign versus a whole continent. Yeah, it's like we're not going to explore a whole continent in one campaign. It's just not going to happen.
And we still covered a lot of ground.
It's like we got a lot of ground covered, and there's a lot of doors that were opened and a lot of seeds that were planted that we'll see spring up as the future campaigns go by.
Like a Citadel jailbreak?
Or I like the idea. I was actually thinking about it for like a future idea is like you guys taking over the Forgotten Palace and like turning that into
like our keep kind of.
Yeah. It's like you guys kind of turn into like a major power players way far to the west.
Yeah. Listen, Walker just spends a year casting teleportation circle in that spot so that we can have it as a gate.
Connected to the star roads and all that.
I sit in the courtyard where the last battle was fought, and I spend my days and I make it, because I can, if a druid sits in one spot for long enough, they can make it lush and green and
look,
wonderful.
It's your grove.
It's your grove.
It's my grove. So Poppy gets her corner of her garden back, where she first started to talk about her just first started to question her connection to the earth.
Yeah, I love the idea of creating a spot where the Citadel, using the Citadel, a place that is
Forgotten Palace.
The Forgotten Palace is a place of evil. That we are actually turning it into a place of good and of friendship, and I love that idea. Yeah. That would be our home base.
Yeah, like that's definitely a possibility.
We get some Kobold interns who are looking to get away from home for a little while.
Like that's something I kind of like the idea of exploring, and then some other things I'm just gonna kind of keep in my back pocket because it's an idea that I have, and I don't know if we're gonna explore it or how it's gonna work out, but it's. It was very bittersweet giving that last monologue, and because it was like there were certain characters that obviously we had to say goodbye to, whether it was Wiley, having to say goodbye to Wiley, having to say goodbye to Eopix.
Eopix that was beautiful. That moment was
well, him especially, like. The character that I really kind of wanted you to contrast Eopix with was Fortunato. And it was that whole idea of like you have Fortunato who fights death and becomes a lich. And like had to actively seek out that magic and seek that out and actively become a lich. And then Eopix kind of stumbled into immortality in the whole sense that like he didn't know going into the whole Key Guardian thing that was going to be something that happened to him, and so he just kind of accidentally stumbled into it and didn't want it, but because of the deal he made with Thundercrack he couldn't give it up. So, and then for him, considering like it sucks that it happened in this way, but losing the feather was the best thing that happened to him.
Yeah, he could finally say goodbye, and being surrounded by friends was a beautiful ending. And the final ending of stopping the last time. We're going to talk more about this next time, but because we gotta wrap it up here.
Oh man!
But we're going to talk more. I want to talk more about our travels from the pilot all the way through episode 118, everything we've gone through. And we're going to talk more about that next week because there's a lot to talk about still. It was a long way, and I knew this was going to be easily able to fill 3 episodes. So we thank you all. Yeah, we thank you all so very much for joining us on the ride this time, and we will see you very soon. In the meantime, I'm Michael Cross,
Konnor Shenold,
Johnny Payne,
Kiri Hester,
Brooke Bullock,
and Ash King.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.